We better unmute. Hi, welcome. Dang, that stinks. Listen, that's what happens when I'm the
They
production
looked at us
crew.
for like
We're
a
good.
minute and a half and didn't hear us.
Yeah, that's what happens when I'm the production crew.
It's college finals. It's 9 o'clock. Nobody's out of bed yet, so they're just like,
Yeah,
hit the clicker.
Just 7
and they're
people are like, what's
okay,
going on?
well, we didn't miss it. Thank
Okay,
God
so
we
we'll
didn't miss it.
recap a little bit. We had a little warm up there. Sorry. So to my right is Mr. Jeff Collins. On my left is Kelly Timmerman from Casper. If you guys don't know him, just Google it. It's crazy. Kelly is a longtime rodeo fan and
Yeah,
contestant.
absolutely.
You're one of those like volunteers,
Yeah,
contestant, call me if you need me kind of guys.
for
I
sure,
feel like.
for sure.
Also, I
For
live
sure.
there too, so I
Right.
get it. Jeff Collins, you come to town once a year, take over. You give us all of the positivity that we can get. Listen,
Right.
I got them recorded, so I'm just gonna start watching them throughout the year now
That sounds
to
good.
keep me going.
Yeah, good deal. I'm glad it works.
Yeah. So, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will remind you, we are live streaming on the official CNFR page, also on the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association page, and of course, Bullfrog Creative. So if you guys have questions, if you have comments, please feel free. I'm going to try to navigate production and all the things, which clearly I got a little bit of a rough start this morning, but we're good now. So, I don't even know where to start. There's so many things that you sent me this amazing message.
Right.
So I kind of want to start with that. So
Jeff probably gets so sick of hearing this, but I'm proud of Jeff for a couple reasons. Like, he's one of my heroes, and always has been. That whole era of bareback riders from the 90s all the way through the 2000s were guys that just really put a huge impression on my heart and my mind to be a next level bareback rider, rodeo cowboy, not just bareback rider. And I tell Jeff's wife this every time because he's always picking on me, and he's telling me jokes and all this stuff. And I don't know whether to believe anything that he says, but the guy rode so phenomenal through his career that I learned to ride bareback horses. I learned how to rodeo by watching those guys on video. And it's funny, I say it all the time because it's a huge value of credit for myself to be able to be a friend to this guy, but to not just to be in the same room, but to be able to have rodeoed with him kind of towards the latter part of his career when he was, still making the finals at that top level, and then to be there to watch him and ask questions. And man, it changed my life. And the reason, like I tell people, I didn't go to a bareback school.
Right.
I watched some kind of from that outer, sides of things, and the way that they were teaching things, I couldn't do it. I was born pigeon-toed. So they're talking about mash and turn your toes, all this. I couldn't physically do it.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out a different way to do things. So by watching videos of these guys, we had our VH we put in there, we taped the back in so we could record the finals. And man, I had the finals recorded from like the 90s clear to 2000 pretty much. But I remember like 95, 94, 98, like those years were like the premier, like ranked bareback riding years.
Yeah.
The horses were really stepping up their game. The contractors, the riders, the pickmen. I mean, everything was just like top notch. And what I would do is I had about 4 or 5 bareback riders that I really liked certain things they did. And with Jeff is like, he rode every single horse the same.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if it was, yank and sucker and eliminator pin, or he needed to pick a hopper up and showcase him, like he had it all.
Yeah.
So I would watch those videos, and then I would, watch them regular motion, and then I would rewind them and I'd slow them down. And then I would just really look at the body movement through every jump and how he used his lower back, how he used his feet, how his chin was, his free arm. And then I would just take those things that I thought he was, I believe he's excellent at, and I would just put it into my bag of arsenal.
Right.
And the way that I looked at it, and I did that with Deb Green, I did that with, lots of different guys in there. And what I figured out was like, for me, I'm building this massive army, right? Like people show up and have, to war, and they got a pistol or a shotgun or something like that. And here I got the Navy, and I've got the Air Force, and I got like this whole arsenal of things to use. And that's the way that I looked at it. It's like I was able to take these valuable tools from these great guys out there and be able to utilize them in my repertoire and keep going. And then it's so crazy. Like I went to maybe 5 amateur rodeos because I never wanted to be an amateur. I was going to be a pro cowboy at that level.
Yeah.
And I traveled from here all the way to Texas to ride by myself because nobody up here was rodeoing or wanted to go.
Yeah.
They didn't want to ride against the wolves. And I was like, I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
And I would get there and I might be 3 ahead of him. And I'd be sitting there watching him pull his
him.
rigging and, and stuff. And then they'd get done and I'd hurry and get my stuff done and go, So, like,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. Iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another.
Yes,
if you're
sir.
around the best in the world, you're going to be one of the best in the world for
Yes,
sure.
sir. Well, I know, I'll let you go in just a second. I want to point out, I think we see it a lot more frequently now where cowboys are treating themselves as athletes,
Mhm.
but you started it. I really feel like because your background wasn't in rodeo.
Mhm.
Like in high school, there's no high school rodeo. You were wrestling.
Mhm.
And so you were kind of brought up in with that athletic mindset, that athlete's mindset. And I feel like your mental game clearly shows that,
Sure.
but also your determination, your dedication, your lifestyle choices,
Depending on the lesson.
yeah, ish.
We don't want to talk about all of
Ish.
I got some other
But yeah, but like
Yeah.
you were already physically fit and like I feel like you brought that to the game.
Thank you. That's a very good compliment. The honest reality of that is I didn't know how guys rodeoed because I did in high school rodeo and I wasn't around it. And I really wasn't around a lot of guys here in Casper that were rodeoing full time. And the other part of that was my dad rodeoed professionally for quite a few years. And my dad was like the party guy, would go and show up and ride, but then he was at the beer stand and go party. And my dad rode great and he was tough and he was my first hero, definitely wanted to be a rodeo cowboy. And I loved the bar stores and the fights and the rank horse. I mean, all that stuff. But my dad really pushed me to understand the business of rodeo. And then the other part of my story is I had my son when I was a junior in high school, my daughter right after that. So when I left high school, I was working some really, really hard, miserable labor jobs, like $6.50 an hour was one of the best pays that I had as a swamper. I worked for USA Trucking.
$15 guarantee.
And I always did my best job. And I said, you know what, if I get a chance to do something for me and I put this kind of work in it, I'm going to be massively successful. And that's what I did. When I got an opportunity rodeo for Casper College, I didn't, I got my tuition paid. That was it. Yeah. And I had 2 kids to pay for, had a full-time job, went to school full-time and rodeo full-time. And I was like, all I need is my foot in the door and opportunity. And I looked at it as a blessing. I felt like I was working for the college to earn what I had. And I just took whatever they gave me and I just ran with it.
Yeah. Good for you.
That's amazing. I mean, number one, I'm just humbled that he would even watch a video of me. But I can remember when Kelly was coming on, you could see a difference in him and then other young guys. And the hunger was there. Obviously, the physicality was there. You knew that he had done everything that he could do when he got there. And didn't really know the whole story that he had that many children and that he couldn't afford to lose when he got there. He had to win. It was kind of everything was on the line, but he laid it on the line. And I think that's what winners do. And he didn't know he could lose. He just thought he was going to win every time. And I think that's his mentality. That's his, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
He was hungry for it. And you can tell that. And it showed throughout his whole career. The guys that he's talking about, he watched that rodeoed when I did, I was the same as him. I was amazed that I got to be around them. And when I was in the locker room with those guys and I looked across there, I was just humbled to be with those guys. So I understand what he was feeling. And it's the same feeling I got when I'm watching Deb, when I'm watching Kelly, when I'm watching these guys that are amazing. I'm like, man, it's just, I can't believe I get to do this for a living. It was exciting and it was fun, but it was hard work. It was hard work. It was like he talked about driving from Casper to Texas. And then in them days, we did sleep in our vans a lot. We did sleep in the car a lot. You know what I mean? There was not, if you didn't have a buddy group you were going with and could have split a motel 3 or 4 ways, you might sleep in the van or you might, a lot of times we had all night drives, but there's some times where you had a 3-hour drive and you're like, can I get a $70 or $60 room tonight, or do I just need to sleep in the van? So it was not only physically hard for him to stay in shape and keep your body sound in the rodeo arena, but keep it in rodeo shape where you could sleep setting up and go to work the next day.
And still go to work the next day.
You got to get up and go to work the next day. So it was different. It was awesome. Don't get me wrong. I'm not whining or complaining. It was different. And I'm sure the era before us was even
more different.
More different. When you talked about your dad, that era was even more different. Yeah. Them guys worked every event. I was talking to Jess Turney here about his dad, Paul Turney, was all around champ, and he did everything in college. He did everything.
Mm-hmm.
He said he finally quit bronc riding because he got to where he didn't want to be nervous driving to the rodeo. He just didn't like it, but he finally, so those guys were amazing. But what we've got today, like the competition here today at the college finals, is a mix of cowboy, the history. They got the history with them. They're cowboys, but they also got great colleges that are teaching them great things about investing, business classes. They got a real good education, but the physicality of it, these guys are in shape, man. These guys, some of them, you see the personal trainers, they got personal trainers, and money's way better.
Oh yeah.
Kids got way more money than I do now, so I go to eat with them. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned a couple of things. I know that, well, first I want to say that as a kid growing up in the rodeo world, like so many of the contestants you put like up on this pedestal,
right?
Because there's it seems like there's this gap between where you are and where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if anything, this platform has taught me clearly at a little bit later age, but that there's really no gap.
Right.
To hear you say similar things that you like, I'm just lucky to be counted among those. Like we're not all that different.
No.
All these contestants, whether you're at the NFR or you're at the CNFR, like we all put our pants on one leg at a time.
Mm-hmm. But the only difference between that is when me and Jeff put our pants on, we win gold buckles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm just kidding.
No.
With that being said, that's
but I think what that does is it makes the dream of that gold buckle so much more real.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just easy to think, oh, well, they do this and they do this. And it's really easy to fall in that and not even allow yourself to have that dream.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there. It's real. Mm-hmm. These guys they're putting the work in, and you can do that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not a magic potion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's hard work.
It's absolutely work.
Yeah. That could be a magic potion.
Right.
But
and failures.
Think,
that's the magic potion right there, is that you learn from your mistakes, learn from your failures. It's going to take you a little bit higher on down the road.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing and have the courage to put yourself out there to fail at such a high rate that when you hit the ground, you bounce 25,000 feet there. When you stand up, you're way the heck over there instead of way back here. And that's the hardest thing. But that's the best thing about bareback riding, is it's balls to walls. I mean, there's no holding back. Like you watch these guys get on, they're literally putting, the I give a crap out the window and been like, they just nod their head and they're going for it. Yeah. And that's my favorite part about bareback riding, aside from the camaraderie. That's the other part. But you cannot second guess, you cannot overthink. You have to get on there and just go with it. Like there's, split second reaction is you're already beat. Like it's unbelievable how aggressive you have to be as a bareback rider.
Well, that's
speed of the game's
absolutely.
You bring up a good point. Gosh. I mean, oftentimes you hear on the timed event like, I've got 2 down, I just need to be clean. Like there's a certain level of like safety and up that you can do in that. Where like you bareback safety up in bareback riding and you're gonna get hurt.
It's not gonna happen. Yeah.
Like it's all or none.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So
and same bronc riding, same roll.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're practicing the way you're supposed to be practicing to win, if you go to safety up, you're beat already.
Yeah.
Because you're pulling yourself completely out of what you've been working for.
Your muscle memory is competing here.
Yeah. So you might as well just go to, and this is what I tell a lot of kids: don't show up to compete, show up to conquer. You know what I mean? Because if you ever get in a situation where, oh, I'm 10 seconds ahead of everybody else. And then you go to safety up, it is going to bite you in the butt every time. Go out there and kick their butt, win the round.
Yeah,
you
every
know,
time.
but because that's what you've been practicing for. Don't change stuff up just to win a first place. Like that
Right.
just is silly,
Yeah.
So
Good
but-
point.
yeah.
Really good. Yeah. I mean, go at it. And like we talk about with muscle memory, like we talk about with anything we do in the sport of rodeo, it's a reaction. If you think about it, like I can remember riding somewhere, I'm thinking, man, maybe I could turn that toe out just a little bit. Whop, about the time I thought about it. So I had to be in a zone. I had to think one thought. I had a simple mind. I had to think one thought, and then everything else just had to happen. If everything else just didn't happen, I was probably not in that zone. I wasn't thinking that one thought. I got to thinking. I think my head getting my butt's way sometimes. So you got to keep your head out of your butt's way and just go to work, So
And I call that like the discipline of the sport. And that's, that type of training is done outside the rodeo arena on the spur board, or a saddle horse or, and a lot of guys, they don't have the work ethic or the patience to put themselves through that. And it's not getting on the spur board and spurring 1,000 times. We're talking about spurring it methodically correct every time you do it and taking your time. You might spur it one time in 30 seconds starting out, but it's got to be methodically perfect, and that's the training, the rule of 100 hours. Have you guys heard that rule?
No.
100 hours. So if you decide to pick something to do in life, it doesn't matter rodeo, just anything you decide to do in life. If you put 100 hours into it, you'll be 90% better than anybody else in the world doing the same thing. So if these kids would take the time, especially these younger kids that are starting out, little peewees and stuff, if they would get on a spur board, not a bucking machine, a spur board that makes them really have to sit up on the rig and work, and they put 100 hours into that spur board, when they start getting on horses, they're going to just go to winning.
It's going to be normal.
And that's what I did. I watched films and I would put my spur board down there and then I'd slow motion and then I would put it into effect. And I did that. Matter of fact, I started rodeo and I really sucked. I was like fourth, I think, in the region coming in the spring. Coming into the spring. So that whole winter break, I put 100 hours on my spur board, saddle horse. Never had a buck machine. I don't use them because it just causes kind of bad habits. But I put 100 hours in on the spur board, the bucking machine. I came back in the spring and I won every single college rodeo. Came in first in the nation by like 400 points. Had Blood Brother, remember that horse? Blood Brother?
Oh yeah.
Had him when he was really out of line and still ranked. It was 86 on him in a college rodeo. And like it just clicked for me. Since then, I've been able to, and we didn't have practice horses here at Casper at the time.
No.
So that was my practice but when I started getting on bucking horses, exactly what he was saying. It was that reaction was there because I practiced methodically, the correct, all those things, and it just took over. And then from that standpoint is that work ethic has carried me through my career because when you do things that correct, it's like riding a bike. You find your balance and pretty soon you never fall off your bike. It's the same thing, but it takes that kind of training outside the arena to really get consistent and good at what you do.
Yeah. For sure.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a break from bareback riding because I know we'll come back with it. No, you got to stay.
See you,
I was specifically told to talk to you about some goat tying.
Goat tying.
Yeah, so
I know a few things about goat tying. My coach, Stacy
almost
Martin,
because you have to.
she has next level goat tying. She's an amazing coach. She brings a lot to our program, and I've learned more about goat tying. But realistically, why she's there is the first few years of coaching, I'd bring some guys here. Then I brought a team here. I had a team win the nation here, and they were a great team. It just men. And I was getting a girl. I got one girl in my second year of coaching in the barrel racing. And then I got another girl here in the breakaway roping last year or the year before. And I wasn't getting girls here. And Stacy had moved from one of her jobs. A hurricane had taken her house out twice in Louisiana. She was moving to Texas, thank God, 30 minutes from our school. And she's like, hey, man. I'm like, hey, dude, you got to come over here. So what she's there for is I had to look at myself and say, look, I'm not taking the girls to Casper that I need to be taking. I'm not saying I'm a terrible ladies coach, but I was a terrible ladies coach. So I got her, and it's things are changing. We got a great team recruited next year. We had a lot of great girls finish good this year. I'm super excited about what's coming with our ladies and with Stacy, and thankful, just like being in the locker room with all the greats, I'm thankful to be a part of what she's going to do because she's amazing. I do once in a while, occasionally have to give a dismount lesson or two.
Tuck and roll, that kind of dismount lesson.
Why you laugh? No, I'm
That would be the kind I would teach.
yeah.
Right.
So, but she's great. Yeah, and they give me a hard time. I go out there when they're practicing. I give them a hard time and holler and scream at them, act like I know what I'm doing. But she's got it.
I think it's way different because, and you probably recognize this because you went to school here with some great goat tires. The dismount is, in my mind, the biggest difference. Like, I like to slow down a little and step off, and I still couldn't land that until I got to college. And these ladies I told Will Loomis yesterday,
seconds.
these guys are goat tying off steer wrestling horses now.
Oh, yeah.
They're not even
no
checking.
bull. Yeah, no bull.
They're not even like trying to slow down. It's just go.
You know, I seen one last night. She's hanging, and I swear her horse is running.
Mm-hmm.
But when this
All
girl
out.
hit off the horse, she's like 2 steps ahead of the horse, and the horse ain't checking up much.
Mm-mm.
Them girls, and I told Stacy, I said, how fast do you think she's going? She said, got her the radar. She said, she's going 30 miles an hour.
Wow. That's
30
good.
miles an hour, dude. They're hitting it. So they're, and then you talk about flawless, breaking it down, and talk about 5.6 seconds. So you can't think about that. It has to be a reaction like we talked
Same,
about.
yeah.
It has to be so repetitive, such muscle memory that it's not do this till I get it right. It's do this till I can't get it wrong,
Yeah.
And
I love that theory. That is one of my favorite.
and that's
favorite.
Lyle Sankey's.
Love that.
I love that. I don't know where he got it or if he was the originator
Jordan.
of it.
That's where it
Michael
came
Jordan,
from.
and Lyle, I don't know if did you know Lyle pretty good, Sankey?
No.
Yeah, he was a little before your time. He's kind of one of my mentors, but he had a lot of those, and I can remember getting that from him and on the spur board.
Yep.
He's like, it's not that you're.
Yeah, very similar to what you said.
Oh, yeah.
You got to
Absolutely.
get on the spur board, and you don't have to spur this thing 1,000 times. I don't care if you spur it 3 different times a day, but when you do it right. I remember at Fort Scott when I was going to school for Coach Luthi, we had a spur board over there, and I'd get up in the mornings and I would jog over there to the arena, and it was kind of dark in the arena. We had the spur board set up, and I can remember I was the announcer, I was the judge, I was everything, and I can remember getting on, and I can, you can bring goosebumps to yourself thinking about being at the NFR. And Larry Peabody was a guy I always watched a lot. And I remember one year kind of thinking I was a bareback rider, and Larry Peabody come to a rodeo in Illinois. And this is when I'd kind of went to circuit finals, and I'd had this horse a couple of weeks before that at circuit finals and didn't do real well on it. I hated the horse, really strong. I didn't ride him very good, right? But I'm thinking I'm a bareback rider, and Larry Peabody's like, hey, Jeff, do you know this horse? I'm like, oh, he talked to me. I am.
You are.
I am a dude now. And I was like, yeah, he's a little strong, Larry, kind of around there. And I was kind of setting my rigging when he goes, and I'm like, I got to watch this. And I didn't look up. I heard it. The horse was in front of my chute, and I could hear whop, whop, and his shafts were flopping, and he was setting his feet. And I looked up, and he's got this horse picked up, and it's just staying right there, and he is giving him the business. And I thought, oh, I got some work to do. I'm not quite there yet. I thought, man. So my work intensified when I went back to college after that. It changed, I think as positive as I am, and as much as I like to look at the great things that are coming down the pipe, you also got to be a little bit realistic. Because if you're not a little bit realistic, you're not going to do what Weston does. You're not going to do what Kelly does. You're going to cheat some of the stuff. And we talk about our cookies. If you just miss that little bit of dash of salt, they're not going to taste the same. You have to have every recipe. So a lot of the old guys didn't get in the gym. A lot of the guys didn't get to get on practice horse. I think nowadays you better have the whole package. You better be sharp. You better be in the gym. You better be eating right. You better be sleeping right. You better have the whole deal.
Yeah.
You gotta be the whole package like this young man over here, or he's gonna take your money
That's for sure.
and won't mind doing it.
I remember I came in the first day and I looked down there and I watched 3 bareback riders in the slack, the very first slack. And I thought to myself, man, I'm glad I'm not in college right now. Son of a gun, they
know
ride good.
Well, it's kind of as I
buddy.
was going out in my career, you were coming up, and I'm like, you know, I'm almost done, and that guy's not even hit his prime yet, and he's already killing us. How are we going to compete with that? So we didn't start liking Kelly till really
was
after he retired. You know what I mean? Because you might have witnessed the same thing, but the guys coming in, they're taking your money. You're like, it might be time for me to get a real job, you know, because it gets tough. The older you get, the tougher it gets, and then there's always that new generation coming on. And they're doing, it looks like to me, they're doing things faster, they're doing things stronger, they're doing things more right. And part of that I'm excited about. It's because it's great coaching like Kelly gives, and guys like us that have been there, they don't have to go through some of the stuff we went through. So I think there's a lot of great coaches, a lot of great schools, a lot of great things going on out there where you can go and get some training, but also the sport's just evolving. The horses are amazing. The athletes are amazing. It's a great time to be in sport rodeo.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And I think there's one value with all of it that will always be true for, especially, rodeo in general, is the guys that win are the cowboys.
Yep.
They're the ones that are horsemen, that are riding, that are, putting the work ethic in, that are decent, good to be around, manners, treat ladies good like a cowboy. And that part of rodeo is never going to change.
No, and I think what's really cool is, like I told him in the meeting the other day, I don't know if I could go there with this, but I went out and watched a softball tournament that was amazing. And not one man came out there dressed as a woman and said he wanted to help his team. He was going to play on the girls' side that day. And I was like, thank God for rodeo, man. Thank God for our ethics, for our morals. And we still have ladies events.
Absolutely.
They're ladies, and we still have men's events. And the men can't.
No.
We got one co-ed event, team roping, and I thank God we have that co-ed event, but it is a co-ed event. The others aren't.
Yeah.
And I like that. And like you said, they're cowboys and horsemen. And there's so much out there on the internet that you can watch and get into to help.
Unreal what you can learn now.
It's unreal. But there's also so much crap. There's a certain time where these kids today, like, you take his cell phone from him over there, and they don't know who I'm pointing at yet. I don't guess, but
they
that's
don't.
what I know. But you take his cell phone, he's not going to be able to get back to Texas. Be like, what? You know what I'm saying? What? And then you think you're going to have a travel partner, somebody to talk to. If you ain't careful, my daughter, she's 24. She'll be over there on this. Be like, yeah, what's up, Dad? Be like, dude, you want to talk?
What?
What, am I in trouble or something? They don't want, so they got so much crap they watch on there, but there's so many great things too. So it's a deal, but most of these guys in this sport, they put that son up down, they go to work.
I do have one picture from behind the buck and shoots last night, and there's like 5 guys all sitting like this. And I will say, I think half of them are like, don't know what they're looking at. They're trying to find something, but they don't know how to find it. And then there's like 2 or 3 young guys in there, like they know where they're going, what they're doing.
Right.
So it's a curse and a blessing.
I hate them. I'd rather have them. But, I'm as bad as they are sometimes. Like, I talk to my wife every 2 or 3 hours or text or whatever, and used to in the old days, you'd stop and call or at least if she said, why didn't you call me? At least you could say, well, dude, there was
no phone.
Yeah, there was no phone in sight. And then they could believe it. Nowadays, if they're like, what are you going to call you?
That's
I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, we are right about the halfway mark. So I appreciate you don't get to go anywhere, but you're staying with me. I appreciate you coming in.
It was an honor to be here. Anytime I get to visit with you and Kelly, it's an honor. So I'm going to let the young gun get in here, and I'll get out of y'all's way.
We're going to go do a quick commercial, and we will be right back.
See you, buddy.
All right, we are back. That door is kind of tricky there. So we have a new face in the mix now. Mr. Weston Timmerman, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Listen, it's early. And I
Yes,
know you
it
rode
is.
your third one last night.
Yes, ma'am, I did. Yeah, got on the third one last night. Went pretty good. Not
Are you
bad.
sore?
Not bad. I mean, it could be worse.
Right.
He told me
Could be
this
worse.
morning, I maybe should have put my neck roll on. And then I'm like, why?
But just keep your chin down.
Yeah.
Right?
Or that. I didn't know there was an appropriate response. So
Yeah,
I was
no,
like,
chin
why
up
would
is
you
good.
not wear that?
Right. You know, I think sometimes it's like, sometimes we can do too much safety equipment.
Yeah.
It takes away. And then there's sometimes to get away from it, it helps kind of gives you the leverage to be able to use your hips a little bit better, a little stronger, but
Well, it's
bareback
kind of
ride's
like wearing
tough
a
on your
knee
neck.
brace when you don't have a knee injury, right?
kind of.
Then you almost create a problem.
Yeah, sometimes it can happen that way. And then sometimes it's preventative,
Right.
you know, so it's kind of one of those things that you play with. I never rode a neck roll very much because I don't have much of a neck. So it just felt like, it was just
True.
too much. And, you know, I didn't ride one of those riggings that was really like real set up in the front. So I wasn't worried about getting hit in the back. And nowadays everything's kind of a little bit higher towards the front. And a lot of guys are taking a little bit of abuse back there that probably don't need to, but it's definitely one of those things that you can go back and forth with.
Right.
And whatever's more, you know, the better for you safety wise is good to use. But if it's an impediment, probably not.
Yeah.
Just step away and do a lot of power clings and do the Mike Tyson neck rolls,
Yeah.
you know,
Get
get
no.
strong.
I was getting to the point where I was just relying on it, and I needed to change that up because I wasn't telling myself to keep my chin tucked because I was like, oh,
Because you had
I have
that.
something that can catch me, so why do I need to? And then I was realizing that, so I took it off.
And it's, I mean,
Could you
that's-
notice it?
Yes, I could very much. Yeah.
And it's so important to keep your chin down. It's your balance. Most of all, it's your strength. If your chin's down, your back is implored into the
Right.
ride. Your back goes all the way down through your hip flexors, your hamstrings, you know,
Mhm.
everything. So, and your core. So it's very vital, important to be able to get your chin down. Not only just to make sure you can see where you're setting your
Right.
feet and stuff, but it
Right.
actually engages your body with your riding and keeps your head safe, right?
See how many things you learned while you're here?
Right?
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Hey, I want to ask Weston one. So
Do
we
it.
talked about something earlier about mindset, and this is something I'm very proud of this young man because a lot of times mindset you have to figure out yourself, right?
Yeah.
For me, I was one of those guys that didn't come into rodeo or these things with that really strong, very positive mindset. I had to work at it.
Mhm.
And it was like in every 30-second, get rid of negative thought.
Yep.
And like, I
Ooh.
mean, I had to put focus into it big time. Plus the words that I come out of my mouth, the things that I watch, the people I hang around. So it was like this massive
Yeah.
change for me. And
Reconstruction.
that was one of the biggest goals for me was once I got that, I ended up winning a world title that next year. So it was, you know, going to the gym and all that stuff is very important to stay in shape and all that, but it's only about 10% of what you really need in rodeo. And the work ethic when it comes to the spur board and the practice, that's like the other 50%. And then the rest of it is 100% your mind. And I've noticed a big change in Weston from this last fall season over the winter time to where he is now. And it's kind of like the same transition that I went through.
Yeah.
But this young man's mindset is 10 times better than mine was even then. I knew that I had to work and do that stuff, but I still
Yeah.
was fighting the mind, didn't show up knowing where I was
Where
at.
you're going.
And Weston has. So my question is like, what was the catalyst? Like what
What was
the
that
switch?
change?
The biggest switch was I finally put in the work. Like I would say I put in the work, but in my mind I knew I really wasn't, you know. And then so like for instance, going into the first semester of college rodeo, I had only made one short round, and then when I got in that short round, I was just excited to be there and competing. And then I came back home for Christmas break and decided that I was going to work on it because I didn't like where I was, and went to the gym every day. And when I got back to college and first practice we got back, like I just felt good. I was like, this feels good. Like I put in the work, I feel good about it. And when I got on, I wasn't like thinking a lot. I was just ready to go do what I've been practicing and working on. And then that carried throughout the fall semester, not the fall, the spring semester, and got me here.
Yeah. And I think that's really unique that you say that. I found myself in that situation when I qualified here. You know, I had overcome back surgery and I came in with the mentality like, I'm lucky to walk. I'm lucky to be here. And I think if I had been surrounded by this, I would have come in with that mentality. There's a big difference between I'm lucky to be here and I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're both not, one is not better than the other, but the cream's gonna rise with that mentality. And we've talked about it a ton on this platform, that at this level, the talent is the talent.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everybody's game has stepped up. Goat tires are tying strong. Breakaway ropers are ridiculously fast. Like everybody has stepped up talent wise, but where everything gets separated is that mental game.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's way too many kids coming in just lucky to be here, just happy to be here. And they don't have that push behind them to say, you know, hey dude, you're more than lucky to be here. Everybody starts at 0 here. Not only are you lucky to be here, but you also have an opportunity.
Oh yeah.
So wipe that out of your mind and start changing the narrative a little bit.
Absolutely.
So it takes something
to
happen.
It's like a flame. Like as soon as you get a flame started and you start adding a little bit of kindling and stuff, and like he figured out that, hey, I can be better than I am. So he started putting the work in. He's roommates, you know, with some guys that are rodeo pro, and Sam, what's Sam's last name? Peterson. Yeah. So I think he's right in their top 15, traveling with Caleb Bennett and Barry. Like you don't get it at a higher level. So, and then, you know, Clayton, another guy that he travels with, but these guys are serious about their work ethic and training. And one thing that, you know, Weston had told me was like, you know, he was kind of mixed on what guys to hang out with and stuff. And at first he was in college and we're having fun and we're going to go do these things. And then he decided like, you know what, I'm going to start hanging out with these guys that are going to the gym and that are working hard, that are winning, that are really, you know, doing it next level. And I think, you know, the biggest thing was his decision, right? He made the decision to go to the next level. Then he got around the right guys to keep him motivated. And they might have been kicking his butt a little bit, and him sitting back there thinking, man,
was that the right decision?
I'm ready to start kicking their butt. And, you know, it takes that. It takes a man to suck it up and be like, hey, I need a gut check for me. I need to get my butt in the gym. I need to go work harder because I'm going to be this person in my career. I have my mindset, my goal set, and this is where I'm going. The only thing that's holding back is me. So might as well get out of my way, quit thinking about stuff, and just get to work.
Well, and I would add, I think that especially in your event, there's kind of a small window where you can be competitive. You know, maybe in your normal college experience that you're not rodeo and not bareback riding, it's an event that it's a little bit more treacherous on your body, I would say. You have a little bit more time. So you can make some of those choices, some of those early on choices, and go have fun and just get through college and still have time to do the thing, you know? But when you're when you're doing this, there's a smaller window. So you've got to get to that point quickly or you almost miss that window physically.
And then it's staying hungry. And then having the right. So the one thing that I missed out on when I rodeoed, I didn't have a mentor. And I'm not talking about the riding part of things. I'm talking about the life part of things. To keep me motivated, keep me focused, and, you know, and stay hungry. And so that's what you know, with the schools and everything that I do, I stay with the kids, whether it's text message or videos or Facebook or whatever, to be able to help them, you know, pursue life at a higher level or a better level when it comes to finances, to making good decisions and so on and so forth. Because that's the thing that I lacked in my career, was just I needed that mentor to help me stay focused. So with Weston, with his work ethic now and what he's put in and how consistent he is, from now on for the rest of his career, it's just about staying focused and in it he's in a position to be one of the greatest ever, and in my mind, he's my nephew. So
Right, so he already is.
and I think he should feel that way as well. But everybody that's competing should feel that way about themselves.
Yes.
Nobody competes to be second. And internally, you should always think that you're the very best. That's important for life in general. But having those people in your back office that are friends and family that are motivated, that are positive, that are there to pick you up and keep you going, but also are there to say, hey, you're screwing up. You need to turn stuff around and go this way. Those are real friends. Those are people that you need in life. So, I know that Weston's around the right type of people. I'm one of those guys where I don't really give advice, but I like to tell stories, and there's advice in those stories.
And you'll take what you need.
Yeah, and take what you can, because that's what made me love rodeo so much, was just, I love the stories. I love the rankness and the extreme part of bareback riding. Like, it's just, I'm an aggressive person, and I love it, man. And one thing that's really fun to watch guys when in rodeo, especially bareback and saddle bronc riding, when they get to that next level, we're talking the elite level, they're dictating the ride. They're not waiting on the horse to do the things. Like, they're making the ride for them. And it's exciting because I know Weston's last two horses were not really favorable horses to score on. Like, they were here. One of them was here last year, and I don't think they were above 60 points on him. That was the second horse that Weston was 81 on. And the horse last night, that's a yanking, hard to ride. Usually jumps out there and turns back, and you're not going to score. But he's so on top of his game and doing things so correctly. And when you're doing things correctly, it's all about the horse, helping the horse be better.
Be successful.
Right? To help the horse be better, so you can, help them out, make a better score, make better buck, whatever. And Weston's doing that without even realizing. He's just so on top of things. And that's exciting for me to see, because it's rare. You don't see it very often. There's like maybe 5 guys in the world, maybe 3, that are actually really building their rides and doing things like that. And it's a definite distinction between the rest of the pack. Yeah. And, it's one of those things where it's fun to watch. It's exciting. You build off that. It's not only building him up, but it's building all the other guys around there. And there's little kids watching that are wanting, going to do the same thing. But for me, looking into it, it's like the evolution of the game to where guys are just athletes and so on top of things. And for me, it's been such, and I'm unbelievably proud of him. It's just been so fun to watch and be a part of. Like, people said, oh, you showed him how to do it. I'm like, no, man, he's had his dad, he's had me show him just a few little things, but he took that and it's been on his own. He went down and worked with Brett and those guys at Clarion College, and been around those guys, learn how to win and learn how to practice. And he's the talented little turd. So whatever he does, he can do good at it. So,
one of those.
But it's all his credit.
Yes.
And everybody in here in the success of this arena, it's because they put the work in and they did it. You can't take that away from them. They earned it, and it's for them. And it's been super cool for me.
Well, so I would really like to hear a little bit more from you. I'd like to know a little bit about your game plan when you came in. I think about, Saturday and the armband, and I mean, what was your strategy coming in?
So, coming here, I was coming from a couple rodeos in Utah, and I was just kind of on the road, just rodeoing. Yeah. And the last rodeo I went to before I came here, I was like kind of excited. So like, what, I'm gonna get on this sucker. I'm gonna do good, feel good, and I'm gonna get to the college finals and dominate. And I was in Monticello, Utah, and I just didn't check my rigging or nothing, and the back bolts on my rigging came loose. Oh. And so all the shims had fallen out probably 4 or 5 seconds into the ride, but it was just a blowy colt, so didn't really have any power, thank God. Yeah. But and another thing is when they opened the gate in Monticello, my foot got caught in the chute, so it ripped me up off my rigging, and I was able to get back underneath my rigging and finish the ride with the handle and everything. But I just remember, because it was like a 9-hour trip from there to here to make the armband ceremony. I was like, man, that is not what I was wanting. No. Right before coming here, and so
almost a little reminder.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get complacent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And good timing.
After the armband ceremony, me and Sam Peterson, we went in our room and worked on our riggings and got everything right. Because I like making sure all my stuff is exactly how I want it
Yeah.
before I get to the rodeo. So I don't have to worry about that. I'm just there to do my thing
Mhm.
and not have to worry about my equipment or anything. And that's what I did. I made sure got all my stuff right, and I knew it wasn't going to let go of me or anything. And then got here and just relied on my training, basically.
And you ended up winning Monticello.
Yeah, I did end up winning Monticello.
So
You
it's
left
like,
that out.
I don't have my hand in the rigging, janked me on the chute, but I still won a pro rodeo, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I did a lot of interviews with some contestants this week, and we talk about the kind of the pregame routine.
Yeah.
So walk us through your routine. You know, bareback riding is the first event. When do you arrive? What do you do?
Mhm.
Like, just kind of walk us through the whole thing.
I try to get there in between 2 hours and an hour and a half just to give myself plenty of time. Unless the interstate's flooded, then
Well,
you just got to take your time and get there when you get there. But
100-year flood here.
yeah, exactly. No kidding. But no, I get to the rodeo. First thing I do is I make sure I have all my stuff. First off, I gotta have all my stuff, and then I change into my riding clothes, and then go through my rig and make sure my hand feels good, and then after I clarify that, then I'm on to warming my body up, and I go through with different warm ups.
Same warm up every time.
Every time, and I do a couple band workouts, and I don't stretch a lot because one thing that we went through
Mhm.
is if you stretch your body, then your body is loose, and
Right.
I want my body to be ready to fire, and that's also another thing I got from wrestling was when we were wrestling, we didn't go out there and do a big stretch. We'd go out there and we'd sprint.
Fire up, yeah.
and we'd
Calisthenics.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we would do to get warmed up. And so I kind of took that and carried it to rodeo.
Perfect.
And then, I warmed my body up, and then make sure I give myself plenty of time to tape, because sometimes you don't want to be rushing.
Rushing that.
Of course, yeah. And then just game time after that.
And you tape yourself.
Yep, I do. Well, yeah, basically.
You kind of have to, because
Yeah.
if somebody else is taping, they might get it too tight and stuff. And
Mhm.
Well, and so we have Orthopedic Center of the
Mhm.
Rockies here,
Mhm.
but it's not like they follow you guys around.
no, huh?
I mean, it's more common now than it used to be, but you still
Mhm.
kind of
it's
have to
crazy.
be.
And Chad Smith's still
Yeah.
here. Chad
Yep.
was my guy when I started college rodeo, and I don't think a lot of guys know like his whole career, what he's done, but he was the athletic trainer for the U.S. Olympic wrestling team. So
Mhm.
the perfect guy for advice and how to work out,
Yep.
stretch, train, tape up certain areas. Like that guy he's been such a valuable tool in my success with rodeo and I'd have no idea how many other people in this
Oh,
world he's helped. Like he's just
he was
awesome
doing the high school rodeo in Buffalo when I hyperextended my knee.
really,
He was there.
isn't that
So
crazy?
just
He's been doing it.
yeah, he's
Skip
been doing
Ross
it
is
a while.
another one, and like
Yep.
we just they're such a valuable tool
Mhm.
to utilize. Weston, what's your mindset when you see your horse come in? Because that's the part that it's
Yeah.
the behind the scenes that everybody's posting like I was 86 on this horse and
Yep.
glory to God, and that's all they say. And I'm like, it just drives me nuts. These top level athletes in the world are not sharing even
Build us
behind
up
the
to that.
scenes and like. So what, like, because there's a difference when you're behind the chutes and you're all prepped up and you're revved up. Like when
Mhm.
your horse comes, like
Mhm.
what are you going through up here in your mind? Like, what's the prep from that point to nodding your head?
Well, and I would add too, there's this buildup behind the chutes too, because they come in one stall at a time, and then they move them up, and then they move them up, and it's like closer, closer,
You're getting
closer. Now they're in the chute. It's not your chute, but they're in the chute, and then they come like it's
Yeah.
this whole buildup. So yeah, tell us about that.
Man, I just think that you poor sucker.
You
Too
don't even
sweet.
know.
No, I mean, that's probably that's probably when my nerves peak.
Yep.
Is like, because once it's my turn and my gloves tied on and everything, like I'm ready to go. But when they load, that's when like my adrenaline shoots through the roof, because then I know it's game time.
Yeah.
Like just because, like, for instance, we got night perf. So like I'll wake up in the morning and go eat breakfast or something, but that's all I'm thinking about is like when those
Yeah.
horses load. And then once they load and I finally get to see my horse, first thing I do is I go and see how they are in the chutes and stuff and calm them or whatever they need. And sometimes they're just like a shot dog. And
Yeah,
you don't need
they're
to do
just
nothing.
good.
But yeah, no, I mean, they load and then that's
I got to point something out here, and this is very important, especially for you young guys out there watching, or any athlete that's competing here. You didn't hear him say anything about, oh, I've got a certain horse and I'm thinking about, I need to mark him out here, or I need to set my feet here, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. He's already done all of that training at home, so he's not thinking about having to do those things, because he knows that the more he's thinking about that, the more it's wearing down his body. Like your mind will just completely deplete your energy and all of that. So he's already won the rodeo at home, because now we're at the rodeo. He's just going for first. That horse, when he puts the rigging on that horse's back, the only thing he cared about is that poor sucker.
Yeah.
He's getting spurred today. And that's the difference between having a winning attitude, showing up to compete, versus being a competitor. And a lot of people just don't know that.
Yeah.
They've never been in those scenarios. And I learned that through football and wrestling. Like I had some amazing coaches that put my mindset in a different realm when it came to competition. So I was able to implore that into rodeo, but then boost it at a different level. And like, I was just like Wes. And the other thing is that's really imperative to talk about is the consistency that he's talking about when he shows up to the rodeo, his steps of doing things. That's imperative. I learned that from Ty Murray. Like Ty Murray would do it. And it's not about, thinking about luck or superstition. It's about being consistent. Everything won in rodeo starts with consistency first, and then you progress from there. And it's from the very get-go. And I had my same routine. Like I would show up, put my stuff down, I'd go around, shake everybody's hand, new guys or whatever. I would meet everybody, and then I would take my stuff out, look it over, and then go make sure that the secretary knew that I was there, and I would say hi to them, because I know how much work they put into it. In that committee, like I would see as many committee people as I could around that area, say hi to them, tell them thank you, and then I'd go back, and that's when I started work. And I would go through my gear. 15 minutes before I got on, I was taping up, because I'd already done my calisthenics in between those two and warmed up and the whole 9 yards, taped up. And the whole time I'm taping up, that's when you didn't want to talk to me. Like I'm a nice guy, fun to be around, but in here, man, I am a cocky, arrogant son of a gun when it's competition time. And
and you have to be.
Absolutely. And I'd get taped up, and then when those horses running, I was just like Weston. As soon as I saw the horse, I didn't care how big, scary, strong that sucker was. All I knew is when my rigging was going on that horse's back, that sucker was going to get spurred. And when I got on him and he threw my head in the dirt, I got up feeling proud, because that's rodeo. There's no gray area. It's either great or not. You know what I mean? It's depending on how you show up and how you go for it. And then when I had horses in the chute, I'd be walking up and down, back and forth. And in my mind, I'm thinking, are we good?
Yeah, we're good. I just want to show a comment. Listen, my computer is way over there, and apparently I'm old, so I got to lean over here to read them.
But I'm, so when the horses are in the chute, my rigging's on there, I'm walking back and forth, and the whole time, all I'm doing is building myself up in here. And I tell people that, I'm a fighter. I like to fight at life, like fight at every, I'm always pushing that next level. Even if I've hit the ground, it doesn't matter. I'm up and I'm still pushing forward. So I'm sizing guys up like Will and Bobby Moe and Casey Field. And I'm just like, you poor suckers. Like, I'm going to smoke you today. Like, but that's my ideal of getting myself there. It doesn't mean that I'm ever going to say that out my mouth, but in here, that was my way of getting me myself to that point where I could just go out and react and put the I give a crap out the window and just go for it. Everybody has their switch, how they click it. It's just how you got to get there.
Yeah, for sure. So we do have a comment, Rusty Kent. There's so many that don't realize how much your mind plays into the type of ride you make. Kelly said it best. Yeah, your mind can wear your body out. So I feel like I needed this conversation.
Right.
It's been a few years. But I needed this back
then. We had a good one the other night. It's really cool. Like my nephew comes out to hang out with us the other night. Just him come out, and it was me, him, and his brother, and we're sitting there barbecuing, and me and the older brother are drinking beer, and he's not, because he doesn't do that stuff, So, but it was so cool because I'm getting to hear rodeo stories from him side of things, and certain things that the guys that are doing that he rodeos with, man, it was just like full circle.
Yep,
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I didn't get to have those conversations with my dad or my uncle and stuff because it was just like, we just weren't close like that. And so to be able to hear those things now, it's just like, it just rejuvenates,
Yeah.
you know,
Reliving some
Oh,
of your
man,
favorite
right?
parts.
Yes. And it's been
Yeah.
fun to share stories. And then he's got some travelers, some guys that he rodeos with, travel partners stuff, and college kids that they're awesome too. But man, they do some funny things, some silly things, but all cowboy, all
TikTok.
cowboy. Yeah.
You're not on TikTok, are you?
Occasionally.
Oh,
Occasionally.
get you guys some new
Occasionally.
followers now.
Yeah.
So we are, I knew this hour would go fast because I knew you guys would just go nonstop. So from, I guess, I feel like we've known each other long enough that it's almost like family. So from a family perspective, like and I know you're not from Casper, but I
He
mean,
was born here.
you are.
He was
Yeah.
born here on the 4th of July.
Nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that
Yeah,
cool?
so I heard, in fact, I was watching the Slack and heard your name come up and I was like, oh my gosh, it is. And so
Yeah.
like, we could not be prouder of you. Congratulations on your success thus far. And like, enjoy Friday, enjoy today, and game on
Excited.
tomorrow. Yeah.
I'm
Stay
excited.
dry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I said that to somebody else earlier and it was like, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
So multiple people have said, we've never seen Wyoming this wet or this green. And I'm like, Wyoming has never seen Wyoming this green.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been tough this year.
Yes. Yeah.
Great.
So anyways, thank you guys so much for coming in. I appreciate your time this morning. I
Thank you
appreciate,
for having us.
yeah, apologize for that production team. You can't rely on them.
Right.
They
I
are,
think it turned out
Off
pretty
the
good,
wall.
actually. This
Yeah.
is a great setup.
yeah, I have a really good time. My favorite part is the outside the arena stuff because just like you said, we see a lot of, oh, here's my beautiful ride. And, you know,
Yeah.
social media has allowed us to give us all the good things,
Sure.
but it's getting there. It's the journey that makes the story.
Sometimes
So-
I want to know what they're eating on the road.
Yeah.
Like where are you sleeping or what are you doing?
Yeah, well,
It's so funny. Like Jeff and I were talking about. I remember throwing the bedroll out at the fairgrounds. We got there early in the morning. You know, some rodeos, and the sprinklers would be turned on. You know,
Yeah.
like we'd get there and wake up to be soaking
Ah.
wet. In the sun, you know, but
yeah,
it's the stories that
Yeah.
that make it's like the Chris Ledoux thing. You know, like
Yeah.
when he's sleeping in the car and he's got the flies buzzing around his head, or Copenhagen, like all those. Like,
Mhm.
man,
It's real.
It's what, yeah, it makes it real and it's fun. And, you know, we need to bring people into that lifestyle because that will bring more people to this
To the
lifestyle.
industry.
So
Yeah,
we need that, you know. So you guys out there that are doing your posts, put more into
yeah.
it.
We
man,
need more
especially-
authenticity.
Yes, let's hear some
For
behind the
sure.
scenes stuff. Let's see some videos of you guys getting ready in the locker room or something, like something fun.
Something good,
You
yeah.
know?
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, my name is Heidi Foy with Bullfrog Creatives. Kelly Timmerman, Weston Timmerman, you guys, Jeff Collins joined us earlier. Great lineup this morning. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have CJ Aragon and Ben Londo, who are the arena directors for the week. They're going to kind of give us a wrap up. And
Ben Londo can dance. Have you seen that guy dance?
I have not. I feel like we have a
You tell him,
challenge in
tell him,
store.
say,
Yes.
Kelly Timmerman says he's
Yeah.
seen you doing some
Called
dancing.
out, Mr. Londo. I like it. Also, the best part about
Yes,
rodeo.
yes.
Yeah, so you guys, if you are rewatching this, watching the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. If you have comments, questions, anything, put them in the comments section and we'll get back to you guys. Hey, if you don't have tickets for the CNFR, man, I hate to tell you this, but you might be too late. I think we are sold out Friday and Saturday, but in the off chance that we're not, 577-3030 will get you in touch with the Sinclair box office and get your tickets for the official CNFR. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you tomorrow.